Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Kyle, you look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. No, that's all right. Hi, everybody. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start letting everybody else in. Why don't we start introducing a couple of folks on here? So while we wait for a couple of the panelists, I'm going to go around and see how everybody's doing this morning. So when I call on you, give me your name, tell me where you're from, and what your favorite dessert is. Jade, I'm going to call on you first because it's been a while since I've seen you. Hi, Jade. Can you hear me? No?
Hello.
Hi, Jade. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. So tell us where you're from. Tell us, and also tell us where or what your favorite dessert is.
Awesome. I used to be in LA, but now I'm in San Diego, and my favorite dessert is ice cream.
What kind of ice cream?
If I had to pick, either Ben & Jerry's milk and cookies or overall just like pistachio.
Ooh. We had this conversation for one of our team meetings recently, and the majority of people said they don't like mint chocolate chip.
It's not my favorite, but I'll eat it.
It's good to have you again, Jade. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Let's see, who else? Miss Jenna, where are you from and what is your favorite type of dessert?
Hi, I'm from Central Jersey, but I live in Philly on campus at Drexel. And I know we've also had this conversation, but I think my favorite dessert is probably key lime pie. We've had this conversation a couple times at this point.
Nice. All right, Katie, where are you from and what is your favorite type of dessert?
Hey, I'm from Nottingham in the UK, and my favorite dessert is probably like salted caramel cheesecake.
Ooh, that's a good choice. Nice. Savannah, where are you from and what is your favorite dessert? Savannah?
Hey, I'm in North Carolina and probably anything dark chocolate.
What kind of dark chocolate? Like Hershey's dark chocolate or Ghirardelli? Hershey's?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Cool. Welcome in. It's nice to meet you. And Rachel Cross, where are you from? What is your favorite dessert?
Hello. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, reside in Compton, California. My favorite dessert is ice cream, cookies, and cream.
Ooh, good choice. Well, looks like we have a lot of chocolate lovers in here. All right. Amanda, where are you from? Favorite dessert?
Well, I'm originally from Stratford, Connecticut, but I'm currently in Schenectady, New York at school. And my favorite dessert is definitely any kind of cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory because they make really great cheesecake.
Nice. Cool. And then I'll do one more. Tyler, where are you from and what is your favorite dessert?
I'm from Canton, Ohio, but I'm in Columbus, Ohio right now going to school. And my favorite dessert is cheesecake as well, but it got to be strawberry cheesecake. That's the go-to.
Nice. Cool. Well, welcome in, everybody. It looks like actually we are still missing Evangeline. Nick, would you do me a favor and text her? Thank you. We still have a couple of folks joining in. But in the meantime, before we go ahead and get started, since we are still waiting on Evangeline, I will give a couple of other folks a chance to introduce themselves. But instead of telling me your favorite dessert, tell me your favorite artist right now. So Kaylee, I'm going to start with you.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm currently in the Philly area. My favorite artist right now, I don't know, this was so on the spot. I guess I've been listening to a lot of like Portuguese music. So there's an artist, Marta Rosa, been listening to her.
Nice. Cool. Lakita, where are you from and your favorite type of music or your favorite artist right now?
Hello, my name is Lakita Gironas and I'm hailing from Tallahassee, Florida. And right now, my favorite artist is Molly Music. because I love putting on my walking shoes and getting going. Let's go.
Lakita, I love your energy every single morning. Every single morning, and every time you hop on, you probably have the most energy. I thought I had a lot of energy, and Lakita, you have the most energy, I think, that of anybody I've ever met.
Oh, thank you so much. I love being here with you all.
We love you. All right, Kevin, favorite artist right now and where you're from?
All right, I'm coughing. I'm in Philly right now. I'm originally from Massachusetts, but my favorite artist right now has to be Koter. He just won 2 Grammys, so I've been listening to him a lot lately to celebrate with him, I guess.
Nice. Cool. All right, it looks like we have everybody on. So welcome in everybody. It's so great to have everyone. We're still gonna have a couple of folks join in. So in the meantime, feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. Essentially what we will do is, well, the purpose of the event today is for us to hold space, have a safe space for folks to essentially just express themselves in regards to their own wellness practices. So we wanted to, on a quarterly basis, Finessed Media hosts events in music and mental health or in the wellness space for people to have a space to express themselves, for folks to learn about other ways of just taking care of themselves, and also just to understand what other people have gone through in order for you to know how to deal with those problems yourself. So hopefully you enjoy today's event. We have some amazing panelists today, and I'll let each of them introduce themselves. So we'll start off with Nick Maiale from Music Business Association and Jump Global. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I'm the first. Oh my God. What's up, everyone? Well, thank you, Finessed Media, for having me. I really appreciate it, and all the other panelists for being here. A little about me. As Alexi said, I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Programming at the Music Business Association, which is Music Biz for short. I've been there for about 9 years. As of a few weeks ago, officially, I've launched a company called Jump Global, which is geared toward personal development for executives. So basically PR for people in the music business. And I also do strategic development for music businesses. Specifically, it's a lot of words. And yeah, I will, I'll still work with Music Biz after my full-time employment runs out, but that's kind of where I'm at. I'm based in Nashville, but I'm from Philly, so I go back to Philly like every 3 weeks. So I know there's people from, Finesse has a big Philly presence, so I'm happy to see a lot of people from Philly here. Yeah.
Congratulations on starting your business.
Thank you. Yay. It's going to be a lot of what I talk about today. No, I'm just kidding.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you, Nick. Also, Nick gathered our panelists for today. So thank you so much for gathering everybody together. We appreciate you so much.
No problem.
Maria, I will go to you next. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Maria Gironas. I am the Director of Digital Platform Strategy at Q&A. And I am from the Inland Empire, Corona, California, but I currently live in LA, in the West Adams area. And yeah, I guess just to open the conversation on mental health, I've been diagnosed with anxiety, depression. I currently take medication for both. I've been seeing a therapist for about 6 years now, and constantly just trying to find the best way to function as I do. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Maria. And Maytav, welcome in. Would you please tell us about yourself?
Sure. Hi, guys. Good morning. I'm Maytav. I manage producers and songwriters. That's the core of my business. I started my company about 3 years ago. Previously, I was in publishing, and I also consult for a few record labels. On the A&R side, I consult for Atlantic UK as their LA A&R point, and then as well as Elektra Records and a small management company that's based in London. Yeah, and I'm very passionate about mental health. Congrats to you all for getting up and joining this in the morning. And it's nice to meet everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Maytav, for coming. And Evangeline, Miss Vange, how are you doing?
Morning. I'm here. What a week. Morning, y'all. My full name is Evangeline, but I go by Vange. That's my nickname since birth. Born and raised Oakland. I have been in the music business about 8 years. I am director of brand partnerships and sponsorships at Empire, which is an independent record label in San Francisco. Shout out to Ghazi. And I also am the co-founder of Women Sound Off, which is a really cool event and content platform for women and women of color. We've been around for 3 to 4 years. And I also, last but not least, run a management and artist services agency, which specializes in niche projects and activations for Black artists. And mental health is a big thing for me. I struggle with clinical depression. Not struggle at this point, but I manage clinical depression, and it's something that I expect to consistently have. So probably one of the busiest people in the music business, but I'm highly functional, and I've learned kind of just to ride the wave and go with the highs and the lows. So this is going to be a pretty open and honest conversation for me, more than others I've had. I'm excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. And Evangeline was actually on the mental health panel for Nick Maiale's event, Next Gen U. And I'm so excited to have you. I see your mental health and wellness stuff that you post on Instagram, and every time you post something, I'm like, yay.
I'm like, I'm actually going through this right now. I'm just posting for y'all too, just in case.
So it's awesome. It's so awesome to have all of you here today. And thank you again so much for being here. So like Van was saying, we are going to have a pretty open and honest conversation. One thing that I want to set an intention for all of us as a group and community today is just being present. So you are not expected to share anything that you are not comfortable with. You're not expected to be happy or sad or laugh or anything like that. Today is just for you to be and for you to listen and learn. I would encourage you to grab a pen and paper so that you can take some notes and find some additional ways for you to take care of yourself. We also will have some mental health activities at the end, but essentially we'll start off with an interview of all of the panelists, and then we'll move into some breakout rooms where everybody will get a chance to know each other on a more human level. And then we'll move into the mental health activities. So we've answered this question a little bit, but I do want to go a little bit more into depth. So my first question is, why is the discussion on mental health important to you? And I'll actually go back around and start with Nick.
I'm going to answer, as you said, to me. I think probably over a year ago, it wasn't important to me, to be completely honest with you. I probably never thought about it, but like my whole life, I definitely like knew, there was just something, and I didn't know what it was. And I was just like, why do I, feel this way? Or because I feel like I grew up in a city or around people that just don't talk about things. Like I'm Italian, and you just don't, like no one ever talks about these things. And I feel like I would start to say things, and then it would be like, no, there's nothing wrong with you or anything like that. Like for my parents, stuff like that. But I think my story, and I like to tell this, and I think a year ago I was telling Marie, and I was like, I probably won't ever tell anybody this story, but I actually tell it to everyone now because I feel like it's so important. But mine kind of started exactly a year ago to this probably week, where basically the last 9 years of my life have been dedicated to nothing but my job. I literally had no identity outside of my job at Music Biz. I was completely, there was nothing, I had nothing else to me. I look back at it now, and I truly feel that way. Like if you were to ask me a question, if it wasn't about the music business, I wouldn't be able to answer it, which is really scary. But about a year ago, we had to cancel our in-person conference, which I learned about, which was heartbreaking. It truly was. We put that conference together over obviously 60 years. I was part of the 9-year part of it. And then just taking that apart and having to answer hundreds of emails and just completely take that apart. And I kind of felt like that event was canceled, but I actually just felt canceled, to be completely fair with everyone. I feel like my identity just didn't exist. in the music business. I think that's when my mental health journey kind of started on a macro level. To be completely honest with you, I started talking about it more. But it's to answer your question, I think the reason it's important is because at the end of the day, when we don't have our jobs to fall back on, or we don't have the thing that we publicly display to everyone, that's important. It's the most important thing to fall back on because it's kind of all we have when we don't really have anything. So I would say that's why it's important to have these conversations.
Gotcha. Thank you. Maria?
Mental health, the conversation in mental health is important to me because I think to some degree we need to normalize it. The idea of like being able to chat with people in regards to where you're at a certain time in your life. Also for me, similar to Nick, you know, like I grew up, my parents are immigrants from Bolivia. And like, if there's two things you don't talk about actually three things you don't talk about in the house, is sex, like religion, if you're anti it, and mental health. Like I remember growing up and I had panic attacks, which I thought honest to God, to this day, I imagine it's like the most immobilizing thing that you can really like that I've really endured. And you know, I went to the doctor so many times when I was a kid because my parents and I were all like, for sure, like I have to have a heart defect. Like there's something wrong with my heart that it makes it beat out of my chest and I black out. And then, yeah, as I grew up and I didn't really learn the word depression or anxiety until I was in my early 20s. And then I got help and, you know, grateful that, you know, the resilience that my parents imparted on me was able to show me how to like kind of ride the wave, as Vanja was saying a bit ago, for so long. But there's a certain point when you're an adult, like how self-aware you become, and you need more things to help you. And for me, I think too, like with my colleagues on my team and things like that, they very much know that they can come to me for any questions regarding medication, what therapy looks like, what resources are necessary, financially, how does that cover, stuff like that. So I also just want to be a resource to the Latino community because, you know, obviously like amongst my cousins and my Diaz and Dios, and my dad's one of 17 and my mom's one of 6. So I have a fucking like soccer team of like cousins and family members. And I'm the only one that goes to therapy. And I know that some of them need to as well. Mm-hmm. So I hope to show others that you can do it and not be weak or anything like that.
You have 17 aunts and uncles on one side of the family and 6 on the other.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. You have such a large family. Oh my goodness. You have a couple of comments. A lot of people in the chat were saying that they relate to the immigrant life. A lot of people relate there. Great. Maytav?
Yeah. Sorry if I cut up a bit. My internet is seeming to be a bit unstable, but yeah, I moved here to the States from Israel when I was 9 and kind of grew up. I mean, mental health in general is super important to me because we need to support each other and look after each other in this industry, in this community. And so that's like a huge thing. And personally, like I just, you know, middle school, high school was tough for me. I was bullied throughout all of it and was like not the cool kid. And then eventually just really built thick skin by moving to New York City. And just understanding that there's like incredibly different people everywhere and all that. But I think for me, like mental health, I mean, it's so hard in this business to like not compare yourself to others and not and assign value to things that are anything but what you should be assigning value to, which is your truth and your growth and surrounding yourself with the right people that champion you and help you grow. I mean, and anything other than that, you know, is just toxic. So it's hard to create boundaries in life in general. And that's something that I'm working on. It's with my parents, with my friends, with work. And we have to just look out for each other and talk about mental health and talk about the issues. And yeah, I think the thing in music, or it really in any industry, but I guess especially as an artist or as a producer, or even on the executive side as well, like just constantly comparing yourself, saying, oh, like he's like younger than me and he got this far, and that it's so toxic, and it just takes you steps back, and we all do it, you know, but it's important to talk about it and just be surrounded by the people who lift you up. So that's a thing that I work on. And especially, you know, during this time in the pandemic, I feel we all sort of really pick and choose the people we give time to, the people we let into our lives. And I think a lot of good things came from this time.
Thank you. How about you, Vanj?
The question is, why is mental health important to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure. It's a little early. I'm still heating up. Mental health has always been important to me. I share similar stories to some of my peers in this panel. Parents didn't really care about mental health. It wasn't something that we spoke about. It was kind of just like, get over it, suck it up, toughen up, you know? Very, very much like, keep your head down. And I love my mom to death, but I think a lot of like Black women from older generations have been taught to really just keep your head down and keep doing the work. And you know, it's okay if you're treated like a workhorse, just don't make any noise. So that's how I kind of grew up. So I grew up with extremely amazing work ethic from two hustlers and amazing parents. But at the same time, these were parents who largely suppressed their own emotions. So when I get into the music business, it became important to me because I noticed that I always said yes to everything. I was willing to go above and beyond for everyone else. So the first, honestly, 6 of 8 years of my career were spent kind of similar to what Nick was experiencing, just giving everything, doing everything. I exited my body for work. I had weight fluctuations, you know, just to go into some crazy project and go take my mind into overdrive. I sacrificed a lot of sleep, and that just wasn't a part of the narrative. That is fake. Mm-hmm. That is a myth that you have to do that. Like some of the most important and successful people I know do not. They get a good, decent amount of sleep. So I think for me, I just poured so much. I had a lot of energy that was outgoing. And then you get to this point in your life where you're like, damn, like I need to get some of that energy back. The same energy I'm putting into this project, I need to also put that into myself. So mental health is important to me because it helps you be more self-aware. It helps you understand how you're feeling on a more consistent basis as someone who manages their mental health actively. Also, mental health helps you expand your vision, your view of productivity. You know, it's not just about work and being the best executive or up and coming artist on the work side. It's also about, you know, how productive are you in your personal life? How's your body, mind, your spirit, your soul? So mental health has become almost crucial for me to even have longevity in my actual career. You know, I knew that like other generations were able to just keep going and keep going and keep going for survival. But for me, a part of my generation, you know, I'm turning 30, like that's not the strategy here for me. In order for me to actually maintain survival and actually keep going, I have to find some level of sustainability within myself, which means that I can't give away all of my power and energy to everyone else who just because they want to, you know?
Mm-hmm. So find some sanity in the mix of everything.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I have to pour back into myself. I just came back from a crazy 3-week Grammy project, and now I need to give myself 3 weeks of care. You know, people to say, what's next? I'm ready to go. But now I'm like, I'm tired of fucking shit.
You need to get your pedicure. You need to get a massage.
Yeah, I'm seriously, I this is minor, but I followed so many people off Instagram too. Like, I'm tired of it. Like,
same.
Just as minor as your media diet. You got to just check in with yourself at every level, man.
Awesome. We're about to get a little bit deeper here. And this, for our panelists, feel free to come to share whatever you're comfortable with. So I'm going to leave this open to whoever wants to speak first. But my second question is, well, the reason I am posing this question is because sharing our stories is so helpful for us to heal, to be able to speak to others about what we've experienced, but it's also great for other people to learn from those experiences. So my question is, can you tell me about a low moment in your life and what you went through in order to heal through that process. And I'm just going to leave it open, so whoever wants to speak first.
I'm happy to dive in. Oh, go ahead, Nick, please.
No, I was just going to talk because no one was, but no, go first.
I was thinking a lot. Alexi sent the questions before, and I was thinking like, am I going to share this story right now? And the answer is yes. So I've had a few low points in my life, but the lowest like that I've had probably of all time was in November of last year. And without giving too much context, basically the weight of 2020 finally caught up with me in November. And it was kind of during this week where it was a very high intensity. Like I was on a music video shoot, and my bosses and I have had like kind of these like on like the reality of my company is that, you know, we're a startup and, you know, kind of constantly learning about how to manage and how to be a team together. And it was kind of one of these situations where I wasn't performing as well. And my leadership was kind of like not sure what to do because they knew this wasn't me, you know? And on the other end of it, I have a lot of high intensity projects that I'm working. And on top of that, the weight of the year really set in. And then Nick knows a little bit about this, but it really went downhill in September of last year when I found out a friend of mine was diagnosed with cancer. And she unfortunately passed in January of this past year. And I didn't know how bad I was. Like, I had no idea, like gun to my head, like honest to God, my hand on my Bible, like I had no idea how bad I was suffering. And it took, and this is kind of the funny part that I have never shared. So appreciate like the space to be able to do so. We kind of got into this spat while I was at the music video shoot, and I decided to leave, not like abruptly, but more like they kind of made it clear that I shouldn't be there and I should be somewhere else. So I was trying to drive back to LA. I was in Joshua Tree. And for those of you who don't know the geography of Los Angeles, let me break it down for you. From Joshua Tree to LA is 3.5 hours, one direction. If you go any other direction, you're going the wrong direction, right? So basically I leave Joshua Tree. I am like honestly swerving on the road. I am stressed out. I have no other thoughts other than like how stressed out I am about work, how just sick I feel about a lot of stuff going on at the time. And I start seeing just kind of like I start driving, and I start about an hour in, I see a sign that says welcome to Temecula. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I just don't think about it. And I keep going down, and then I see wine country. Let me tell you something. Wine country is not near LA. So we keep going, and I keep going down and down, and I see a sign that says guns are not legal in Mexico. And I'm like, that's such a weird sign. And then I see a sign that says San Diego on the next exit. And I'm like, that's so weird. Like, I just never like was just like so concerned as to what's going on here. And as I keep going down, it wasn't until I crossed the border of Tijuana that I realized I had been going in the wrong direction for 4 hours because of how stressed out and how beside myself and thoughts I were. I literally crossed this border, and I'm like, holy shit. It says like, welcome to Mexico, or like, welcome to Tijuana or Baja California. And that was just like, and I was just like, and then I stopped immediately as I was crossing the border, and I flagged down the border patrol, and I was like, sir, I do not want to be in Mexico. Can you please help me get to the other side? And very kind and nice border patrol person basically drove me around this entire compound, and then went back into America. And then my boss messaged me saying, hey, I want to have a conversation with you and us, just really honest one. And so I find the first parking lot I can back in America, and I'm in the parking lot of like a La Jolla hotel or something like that. And in that time, I had like a 2.5-hour conversation with my bosses, just like saying like, Maria, you are not performing well. Like something is wrong and we don't know what it is. And, you know, honestly, like this could be like a firing thing, but we don't know what's going on. And I kind of like had a moment there where I was like, I had this kind of tiny bit of clarity where I was able to kind of tell them like, I know this isn't me. If you give me some time, I can come back to who I was. And sure enough, like because of the incredible leadership at my company and the amazing grace they had, I literally remember I drove back to LA. So another 3.5 hours from Tijuana back to Los Angeles. And I like got in my car, didn't unpack my bags or anything, just jumped in the shower. And then I did not leave my bed for 72 hours. And I just like sat there, didn't eat, drank some water and stuff like that. And then within that time, I was like, okay, something's wrong. I called my therapist for an emergency session. She put me in touch with a psychiatrist. And that Monday, I was prescribed on antidepressants and fully confirmed to be fully depressed. And my anxiety at the peak it's ever been. And so ever since then, I've been on medication and I've been seeing my therapist more frequently. And I feel the healthiest I've ever been in my whole life mentally now. And I really credit that to my leadership, just having grace and giving me the space to be able to like really think about what I need to do. And for myself, sometimes you need the lows to understand where you're at. And yeah, and that's my low point. So I hope that, I don't know if that resonates with anyone, of course.
Do you feel like you still work on yourself on a day-to-day basis? Like it's a day-to-day process for you to continue with that healing?
Absolutely. And not to mention, the reality of medication is you can't just take it and then it just like suddenly works. Like I had entire December, I was basically like, honest to God, I thought like immaculate conception was occurring. I was like, I'm giving birth to Christ because there's no possible way that I could be pregnant right now unless the Lord himself blessed me into this. And I was just like nauseous all the time. I was like couldn't sleep. And for those of you who know me, like, you know, I don't sleep much anyway. And I was like kind of fidgety because the medication kind of like gets up and then you go down to be able to equilibrium into everything. So yeah, I was just like going through it, and I'm still kind of going through it. So we're trying to try a different regime now because I can't sleep again. So it's a process on the medical side, on the physical side, just like figuring out things I love that bring me simple joy. And then also talking to friends and family, like telling my parents was like a tough conversation. And it's funny because in the same conversation, I came out to them. So, and the depression part was the hard one. And I was like, whoa, okay. So it's been a heavy 4 to 5 months for me, but it's been great. I'm very grateful to have the space on all ends.
Thank you for sharing, Maria. Nick, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And honestly, my there's a specific low that I won't talk about because I'm not ready to talk about it, probably about 5 years ago. But I think my low's similar to Maria in some kind of way, and it revolves around work, which is, I think that's also a problem, that all of my lows revolve around work. And I think this isn't me being dramatic. I think this is me, like, I think I realized that I needed to fix something or talk about it more when I realized that my work identity, losing that felt worse than when I lost a relative. Like I literally, like, isn't that the weirdest? Like I think about that now and I'm like, I have lost relatives and I was not as upset as I was when this happened, the story that I told you about before. And that was when I was like, I need to figure this out. And honestly, I think since that was my low, my other low came this around November, I think December, where my vision just went blurry. Like I literally could not, I would open my laptop and I went to go answer an email vision went completely blurry. And I was like, wow. And I like had just been working on like my company, which I'm, you know, was so thankful for. And I was just burnt out. And and that's kind of what happened. I think that was my low this year, with all of those things kind of culminating together. And I think what kind of, I don't want to say, I don't like to use the word fix, but just that the journey just came with like, I think a lot of my issues have always revolved around like physical health. I think that led to my mental health. So I really, honestly, we're working in the music business. We go out to dinners a lot. We drink a lot. I don't say we have to, but it's part of our jobs and stuff. And I realized that stuff wasn't happening really, you know? So I was saving some money and I invested in a personal trainer. And I was like, I will never get the opportunity to do this ever again, where my nights aren't completely consumed. And I did that. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made, because I knew like that's what also contributed to the mental piece of it. And yeah, I've lost a bunch of weight, but I don't even care about that. I think it's just how I physically feel. My doctor did give me medicine, depression medicine. I didn't like the way it made me feel, to be completely honest with you. It made me feel worse, I think. So I talked to him about a lot of that stuff, and we actually found out, it's very interesting because I found out a whole bunch of other things about myself that I didn't know after they did a bunch of tests that are just about chemical imbalances and things. So I would definitely encourage people to, you know, look more into those types of things. I was scared too, because I'm just going to say this. My mother still comes to doctor's appointments with me sometimes because she just wants to, you know, my doctor's still in Philly, and she's like, I'm coming with you. And I'm like, great. So like, I just, you know, when your mother comes with you, it's like, you feel like you have to tell them everything that happened afterwards. And I know it sounds funny, but it's just, I come from a single mother, you know, and she just likes to, you know, be around me in all those ways. Yeah. And I think it's just a whole bunch of things, but I will say, like, knock on wood with everything, like right now, this week I actually feel like better than I ever have in my entire life. I will say that. And I think a lot of it, and I'll just end with this, I think a lot of it was I was just hiding a lot of things probably for the last 6 months. Like I was building a company, and everyone I cared about, I couldn't tell because it like conflicted with my job. There's just a lot of things like in it. Once I told all my coworkers, and they were super, super supportive, and my boss, like they were just so happy for me. And it was like, I don't know why I was so nervous this whole time. Like everyone was just so happy for me. And that's kind of where I'm at with the whole thing. But my low, I mean, there was another, like I said, 5 years ago, but this low was like unlike any low, and it was just work related. And I think that was the problem. Like I want my lows to be relationship related or other, like I think that's my next mindset. Like my lows need to be new. Like my roof needs to cave in my house that I bought, and then that's okay to worry about. Like my work things, they can't be my lows anymore, you know. That's my goal.
When your vision was going blurry, that was probably your body telling you that you needed to take a break.
Yeah, 100%. And I found myself emailing and calling my work and just be like, I'm sick today, you know, or I would have like, I mean, you guys see what we put out at Music Biz. I mean, it's quality stuff. I'll be completely honest with you. It looks like we are killing it. Like everyone says it to me and I'm like, great, you know, like it's awesome. But like a lot of stuff goes into that because we're a very, very small team. And yeah, we do a lot of cool things, but it does take a lot on a lot of the people. And that was it. Like we're about to like announce like a huge conference. And like, I remember like I opened my email and I had like 30 emails from people all around the world. And I was like, nope, like I can't do it. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you for sharing.
I'll go next. My story is actually similar to both Maria and Nick, but especially Maria. I had a best childhood friend pass away from cancer towards end of 2018. And I didn't deal with the grief. So all of 2019, I was just drinking. And I started my new job at Empire. So it was year one of my first label ever. So of course I'm gonna go overly hard, but not dealing with my grief essentially enabled me to go even harder and bury myself in work. So November 2019 happens. I've put in my rookie year of label life because before everything was guerrilla style. And I'm also at a startup. Empire is a startup. We're 11 years in, like a global indie label at this point. So that you get to amass that kind of status at a label because of the amount of people that are giving their all literally for a startup company, especially in the music business. Usually startups in music, you give your all. The starting team for a startup label is always going to look different than the startup team in 20 years. I went out one night and just got really wasted. And I remember waking up, I dozed off because I was drinking and driving. I drove home. I was a block from home and I had dozed off, and I woke up and I was scraping the side of someone else's car, and their car was moving onto the sidewalk, and it was a parked car. After that night, I realized that 1, I hadn't dealt with my grief. 2, I was slowly killing myself. You know, like I realized that I was not alive. That was a huge point for me because, mind you, I've had plenty of breakdowns. I've had plenty of other low points, probably twice a year, but this one was different because it felt like I'm essentially, to just be open, I hope it doesn't just trigger warning, I essentially felt like I was committing suicide, but doing it slowly, you know? And it wasn't my first car accident when it came to drinking and driving. I've never even told that on a panel out loud. So I do appreciate the safe space as well. And after that, I got on antidepressants. I made a commitment to live. And I made a commitment to also figure out my balance, like to grieve my friend, you know what I'm saying, to talk to her a little more, to really sit in the fact that someone really close with me, who I still talk to their mom to this day, you know, really did exit my life in that kind of manner. And cancer, it's harder because you get really angry because you're like, you know, this is my friend who's my age. I felt guilty almost making it to age 28. I felt guilty making it to 29. You know, and for the first time, I'm not feeling guilty making it to 30, but I wasn't doing, honestly, right by her, honoring her, by kind of living a super wild, chaotic life and bearing all of my feelings. And I didn't understand still that I had clinical depression until I went in and got the diagnosis from a psychiatrist. I started antidepressants that same, like literally a week later. And then I enrolled in therapy probably 5 to 6 months later. So, you know, the low point itself was obviously super, super emotional, but as a music person and a creative, it was really, really important for me to identify that I was not alive, essentially. It was important for me to identify that I was not, that this wasn't how other people are living. That's when I woke up and I realized that there's actually people who have an easy time getting out of bed, people who have an easy time saying something and going to do it. You know, I realized that the noise in between what I say I was going to do and it actually happening was my depression, was my mental health. And I didn't understand that regular people didn't have that gap, essentially, you know? And I mean regular people as in regular people are better per se at all, but you know how I mean that. I mean that like people who are normally functioning, I'd say, they think if they have a project they want to take on, they take it on. You know, for me, I started even self-sabotaging myself. As a highly performing person, I was starting to sabotage myself. I was starting not to complete projects. I was starting to not really be that good for my word. And depression affects your word. Depression affects your reliability, which is rough because you have a lot of people who rely on you when you're in the music business, whether you're on the artist side, when you have a whole camp behind you, or you're on the exec side and you're lifting up the camp. And that's hard when your work takes a hit. And I think people have to really take a step back sometimes and really identify, if I'm living my purpose, right? If I am receiving opportunities that align with me, because I've already identified my purpose, and now I'm in alignment, right? So I'm receiving all of my blessings and I'm in abundance at that point. But for some reason, I can't complete my projects. For some reason, there's some kind of blockage there. There's some blockage there that is stopping me from pushing out the product. That's when you take a step back and realize that blockage, that noise in the middle is probably mental health. Because you're not, these are things you want to do, you know, like, and that's where also burnout comes into play. Nick and I have discussed this countless times. Burnout was also a huge thing because when you're grieving, you're on projects, it's your first year of a label, you've given yourself to everyone else for years and years. You will burn out. You will absolutely burn out. And burnout is when you are living in purpose, you're living in alignment, but you cannot finish your projects. And you start self-sabotaging yourself, you know, because you have to believe that you get insecure that you can't do it and you're not sure why. But I've come back from burnout. I feel better than ever. I feel stronger than ever. I'm at probably the top of my game I've been at in about 2 years. And it took time, and it's not easy. You know, coming back from a very low point is not easy, but you have to think years out. You have to think, I want to be this kind of person in 2 or 3 years. You can't think it happens overnight. It's a consistent daily commitment to ride the wave. And some days you have to accept that I'm depressed today and it's not going to change. Other days you can, you know, do your mantras, get your books out, go on a walk, go to the park, you know, force yourself to get up, and it gets easier as you go. I now live my life where as long as I have more good than bad throughout the week, I take the bad and I live with that, you know? But I try to keep it like, as long as I'm having more good days than bad days, then I'm getting somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Accepting that you can have those bad days with the good and the good with the bad.
Yeah, it's all a part of the entire process. In order to live in your full existence as someone who manages mental health, you have to acknowledge your mental health, and you have to do the research and go into the doctors and see your psychiatrist and really understand where you're at mentally.
Mm-hmm.
You have to arm yourself. You have to empower yourself, which is knowing what's actually going on with you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to jump in real fast, real quickly. I just want to say, like, it's so interesting because, you know, our jobs really aren't going to get easier. So we actually have to, like, we keep saying, yeah, like, but no, like, we open our laptops or always on our phones. Like, that isn't going to go away. Like, we have to manage it better, but it's not going to go away unless the music business becomes a different atmosphere for everyone, where everyone's literally answering emails like, I am depressed today. I will get to your email in 3 days. Like, we still have to do all the things that push our career. Like, I still have to put on events every day. I still have to talk to everyone on this screen in professional settings like, I'm working with everyone here, like, in other ways. I literally, I have emails into every one of these people, but we're here talking about these things too, which is so important. But I think at the end of the day, it's so important to realize, like, it is such a journey because our jobs are still going to be the same way. That they're not going to change. It's just the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maytav, would you like to share?
Sure. Yeah. So many incredible things have been said already, and like amazing stories, and so much love to you guys for sharing. I'll share one of a low moment for me in regards to work. Was when I left. I was working at a company called Primary Wave for 4 years. And it was a combination, and the day that I was leaving was, it was a hybrid of me being let go and me leaving, like, because my boss at the time came to me and said, hey, like, I know you, I see you. He's an incredible mentor to me. And he was just like, your heart is not it anymore. Like, you're not doing the job that you were doing for all these years, like, something is going on, and talk to me. And after that conversation, we basically decided that it was time for me to move on. And it was a really terrible day because I was super, super scared. I mean, scared.
Oh no. Maytav, do we still have you? The one chance that we actually get you to speak.
Do you hear me?
Yes. No? Okay, there we go.
Sorry about that. The internet's so stable. But yeah, anyway, it was really terrifying in so many ways. I had no idea what I was doing next. I was let go. Like, I had an apartment I had to pay rent for. It was pretty scary. And I guess the takeaway from that is that anything that, for me, like, I realized that anything great that I was going to do was going to take a lot of courage. And I think at that point, I really leaned on my community of people around me. Like, I, reached out to other independent managers, reached out to my community. And I was like, I cried the whole day. It was really scary. And my parents, my whole family comes from very stable backgrounds, like marketing and tech, and like music in general was very, like, not really accepted. So me not having a job and like at 25, like maybe starting my own company was not really a thing that they supported. But I think it taught me that, yeah, that anything great that I was going to do throughout my life, or is it, and you know, anything that's great that's going to come is going to come from a really scary moment, and you have to really show up and be brave and really trust the process. Like that was really tough for me. It was the same with a relationship I had in a very toxic relationship I had. It was terrifying to leave. And I think once you make that step, like so much greatness is going to come after that. And I think courage is being vulnerable, and that is part of mental health. It's part of really, you know, putting yourself out there and getting uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable is a thing that I've like followed my whole career, because I was uncomfortable when I was bullied. Right. So, but just continuing to be that has shown up for me in positive ways, even though it's scary in the moment, but just like, yeah, I don't know, like trusting your inner truth and really being vulnerable is just has always given me good things. But yeah, it was a really low day and week, and it was also the best decision that I've ever made. So it was low in the moment, and it became a high. Yeah.
I think I'm noticing patterns that a lot of us equate our work with ways of healing. Oftentimes we'll throw ourselves into our work, or it's our work is a cause of why we're not healing. So we have this pattern.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I know, I was just going to say that I think you were saying like our work, it's kind of like, I always thought my work was my worth. Like, yeah. I know as cheesy as that sounds, I feel like, and what Maytav was saying about like potentially being let go or fired, like I think we always think like if that happens, we're done. You know, like ourselves
and also like not having an email address, like just being my Gmail, like what is that? Am I going to be worthy of taking meetings? Am I going to have something real to give? Like what am I going to do from ground zero? You know, like that's like a whole worth, and where you assign value is so huge. And yeah.
Thank you all so much for sharing your stories. Does anybody resonate with any of these? Just raise your hand if you resonate with any of these stories, or if they are resonating with you at all. Awesome. Okay, well, after talking a little bit about our lows, I would like to go into what are some ways that you take care of yourself on a day-to-day basis, or what are some of your favorite self-care methods? And the reason I'm asking this question is for all of us to understand how each of us heals. So for some, maybe it might be brushing your teeth on a daily basis. For others, it might be pulling my mat out and, you know, doing some yoga. So what are some ways that you all take care of yourselves? I'll start off with Nick.
I'll be honest with you, this is kind of an easy question for me because I have a list. Like I literally said, I need to go into the new year or my new life with a list. And honestly, I'll just show you, like, it's my gym, like physical, like it's weird that it's also in my office. But you know, my Peloton bike, my, you know, the physical health piece of it that's how I kind of do those things. It's my cheesy stress relief candle that I have. It's creams, it's weird things, but I think the most important thing is just as soon as I sense negativity or something that I know is going to be stressful, I don't want to say work because work's always going to be stressful, like I said before. As soon as like someone approaches me or I just don't feel right about something, it's an immediate like, nope, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen today in my life. And I used to not be like that. I used to talk to everyone and just answer every email and just everything. Like I let everything in my life and then I would decide. But now I'm like, it's kind of exactly, you know, I tried meditation. I do it once in a while. I don't know. It makes me feel good in the moment, but I'm not the kind of person where it's going to like, I think that's important to know because I've actually talked to people who are like, you should meditate 3 times a day. I see how it's amazing, but I also see like the times I don't do it, I'm just as fine. I feel like sometimes I don't like, that's me. Like I love it when I'm doing it, but I'm just like, if I don't do it for a week, I'm not going to have a terrible week because that was part of my thing to do. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just trying to do as many non-work related things as possible. That's kind of, you know, those are all of my things.
Anybody else? have other self-care methods?
I mean, of course, the regulars, massages, baths, spending time with friends. But actually, I'll go back to the friend stuff. I have been transitioning my personal time with my friends into like scheduled dinners and scheduled like hangout time. Basically, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen at this point in my career. So I try to now give that same energy of if it doesn't happen, if it's on my calendar for my career, it also doesn't happen. It's the same thing for personal shit too.
Mm-hmm.
So I now put my friendship time on my calendar. I calendar my personal stuff. I calendar anything. Because to me, if I'm only calendaring my business stuff, and I'm such a great person with my calendar now, that's a problem that I don't have anything personal scheduled. Sometimes I'll look at my calendar and it'll have about 10 meetings in a day. And that's like pre-planned meeting. And that doesn't include all the work I have to do. And I'm in partnerships, which means I'm doing a lot of asset creation as well to actually pitch a project. So that was a rant, but yeah. So
you're answering the question. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, a lot of friendship time. Also a lot of rituals. I'm very big right now, specifically on setting new intentions and manifesting and being more strategic, in things that I'm asking for. Also, I'm trying to just use that as a form of self-care in order to be more direct with myself about what my about what my needs are and what I want out of life. So I did an abundance ritual the other night. I did a balance ritual the other night, because with the balance side, it's going to take as much energy as possible to get me to balance my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, right now, I'm still a work in progress, honestly, but I'm just trying to unclog, honestly, my life in every single area. Some projects I don't need to take on, some businesses that I'm heavily involved in, I don't need to be heavily involved in. Some things I'm doing, I just need to let go. So I'm just trying to create more space for myself to essentially breathe and just be and exist.
Mm-hmm. Maytav, I saw you unmuted yourself. You have some special self-care tips?
I try to meditate. I don't do it every day. I try to just, even if I always say like, okay, 10 minutes. And if I get 5 minutes, that's great too. Or if I get 3 minutes, or just like stillness and being in the present for a few minutes in the morning, that helps me. Definitely like physical workout. I do bar classes, which is sort of like a hybrid of like yoga Pilates thing. And then yeah, huge on friendships. Like I started dating a guy who is not in music, and that has changed my life in every way, because he just opens me up to a whole other era of like things in life that are amazing, other than music. So yeah, it just, that is really great. And I've just, it's like it became, I burnt out so many times in past years, and it just had to be like, okay, now I'm going to do other things. Like I try to stop at 6 p.m. I don't, I don't work on the weekends anymore unless I have to, unless it's like something I really love and it's quick. But yeah, just really spending time outdoors. I think I've learned to spend time alone and enjoy that. That's very much still a struggle for me. Like I don't love to be alone. And so that helps me. And I've started reading, just reading about weird stuff, and that helps me as well.
But things that are probably hopefully not music related.
Yeah, not music. Yeah, and that's the thing. I have so many music books, like just, and it's like that doesn't fulfill me. And it's good to learn and stuff, but like it just, I need a balance of like learning about life and animals and like human beings and biology,
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Maria, what are your self-care methods?
I feel like I'm still learning this. But to be honest, like I don't know if anyone's read Becoming by Michelle Obama, but if you haven't, required reading for life. There was a line in the book that like deeply resonated with me, because like, I think it's amazing. No, you're right. I think it's amazing when you can find work-life balance and you can find, life outside of the music industry and things like that. But there's something she said in her book where it's like, she was kind of saying like how people in her life have been like, oh, you shouldn't work that much. Or like, you shouldn't you should like do something else in this, like something like that. And she's like kind of detested it because her her life is her work is her life. And I was like, that's me. Like, I love, music. I play guitar. I record with my friends. I still play in bands, like, and I also do marketing. And obviously the music stuff's no ambition of being like music in that way. I love the business side. So I think for me, it's really just accepting that this is the life I want and this is what I love to do. And if I can include other things in it, that's amazing. But you definitely sign up for this work, not for the money, but for the lifestyle. And I am grateful for it. And I think beyond that, as far as like daily practices, it's being conscious of what my boundaries are, but also making them very clear to others in my life. Like, I think that was a big thing. As you're getting older, you just become more self-aware, as I was saying before. And like, I realized I didn't have many boundaries. Like, I didn't understand, like, I was like, I don't want people, I don't like the way like my therapist described it, or like, it was like, boundaries are like they're not just like a white picket fence in front of your house. It is letting people know when they can go in the gate and out the gate. And then I was like, oh, I loved that. Like, it's not just about keeping people out. It's about letting people know, letting people I want in, And so I've done like probably since my low point, really just been honest with my friends of like, hey, if we're doing a game night or something, like, hey, I'm not like all here. And I just want you to know, like, it's not going to affect anything, but like, I just want you to know like where I'm at. And it's been so lovely being able to talk like that to my family, my friends, my coworkers, and just being very conscious of that. And then within all of that, with my work, like just appreciating the simple joy of it, like I love what I do. I love music. I like just thinking about it makes me smile. Like, and I get like such a thrill from, coming up with an idea randomly and then it actually coming to life because we, just a random like 2 a.m. like, oh my God, this is the thing. And I should also say too, like I said, like, this is me, not you, or, like everyone has their own path with it and everyone finds their own way. Like my sister, a year, 16 months different, couldn't be more different than me. She is a medical social worker, literally doing the Lord's work at her hospital, helping babies that get dropped off at hospitals find homes. Like when we talk about, oh, I had a hard day with like this artist that was being a little difficult. She's like, oh man, I just had a mother come in with a syringe in her elbow and gave birth and she's 15 years old. And I'm just like, okay, you win.
Perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I need to surround myself with people that don't work in music, but that doesn't mean I have to love it any less or feel like I need to detach from it, but yeah, I don't know if that all makes sense at all, if I'm saying that correctly, but with all the respect, of course, like it's amazing how you can continue to find stuff out about yourself. And there's a quote from Marley and Me that I really love too, where the protagonist was being interviewed by his future boss, and his boss was like, why should I hire you? He's like, well, I have a tendency to surprise myself. And I think I'm trying to live with that idea. Like I want to constantly surprise myself with the things I can and can't do.
I love that. I want to consistently surprise myself.
I just wanted to hop in real fast because I'm so happy Maria said that. Like, that's how I used to be. Like, I used to like actually love my job and love music and like love all of these things. But I think just the last year, like all the things I loved about my job and loved about music didn't exist. Like cliche, the live experience, the going to dinners, the traveling. Like I used to enjoy that stuff. I didn't see it as burnout really. I really just enjoyed it. Like I liked listening to music. Now I like listen to music and I'll be like, this is getting on my nerves. Like I can't, like no new music is happening. It's so, but I'm like, my goal is to get back to that, to be healthy enough to like that. So I was just wanted to comment on like what Maria said. Like I want to get back to that because there was a time when I was like, I work in the music business. I love this. Like I was actually happy telling people that. And I probably say the last 3 years that went away. So
that's important to always note that when you stop talking about something in a way that you love it, sometimes it's not always, it's a mix of burnout sometimes, but sometimes it's just you're ready to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Your heart just isn't in it anymore. And us as like music execs and creatives and makers, like learning how to let go is just learning how to let go early is such a really good skill to have. You know, not just being attached to something because of loyalty, you know, but also really like saying that, you know, this doesn't really fit with me anymore. And you can't have abundance if you don't make space for it, if you don't let go.
And it's so hard.
Nick let go. Nick made the jump. He let go, and he's bringing in abundance. He took the leap, and that's a really big deal. Is realizing that I don't actually have to stay where I'm at. It's kind of like mental jail. Especially with mental health, it does feel like you're literally in jail sometimes. I crack a lot of jokes because that's
you literally just said something.
So right though.
You just said something though that like honestly, like it's another thing that I really don't care who's here, to be honest. But I'm happy that everyone's here. But I'm happy to talk about this. Like I actually, and this is a revelation to a lot of people, and I may have told some people this, I'm not sure. From September to December, I was fully going to leave my job. Like I was leaving my job. I was not going to be there. I was starting my new company. But then once I started to tell people about what I was going to do, I felt better about it. And then when I finally told my boss, it was like, I don't have to leave my job. Like getting that off of my chest, it was the weirdest feeling. And I think, you know, JJ who works with me, like I told him, I was like, I'm leaving. Like, this is it. I'm not going to be here anymore. But then I had like a change of heart within like 2 weeks because I just told more people. And as soon as I started telling people about it and talking about my passions and talking about who I was outside of the music business, it was just like, I instantly felt great. And then I was like, why would I leave my job? It's great. Like, you know, like it was the weirdest feeling because everything changed like once I started talking about it more. So now I'm just going to talk about everything all the time because I realized like it just helps so much. To me, it's like the weirdest feeling, but I don't know. I think it's just there's peace in it, you know?
Yeah. Alexi, I don't want to like hijack the conversation, but can I just get a show of hands of how many artists specifically are here?
Yeah, 100%. Raise your hand if you're an artist.
I don't know if it's mostly artists or execs. Okay.
Yeah, we have a good mix. Think about a third of them are artists.
Gotcha. Just briefly from the artist management perspective, I have worked with artists who struggle with mental health and they're just not kind of getting the help they need. And just a note for any artist in the building, like be proactive with your mental health because the industry will try to like eat you alive, really. And you being proactive with your mental health is you having essentially more control. So like if you're an artist, you should try to find therapy. No matter if it's like rolling or sliding scale base, if it's community therapy, or if you're able to actually go through the whole system and process and get therapy, like just do that for yourself early. Don't ask why. Don't question it. Just do it. Like that's mandatory for me at this point. If I work with an artist, it is mandatory that they be in therapy or have some plan to be in therapy.
Yeah. I actually ran over into the breakout room session a little bit because I wanted to let all of the speakers speak their piece. And when I say that, I mean piece as in P-I-E-C-E and P-E-A-C-E. So essentially, I would love to have us go into some breakout rooms. First of all, round of applause for the speakers for sharing everything today. That was awesome. I am going to go ahead and open up some breakout rooms. We will be in breakout rooms for about 20 minutes. So I have about 8 people in each room. And I'm sorry if you wanted to be with a specific person. We have so many people here that it's hard to get everybody in their specific room. But essentially what I'll do is I'll put you in breakout rooms. I have a couple of prompts that I want you to answer. Each of the panelists will be in one room, but they're not moderators. So this is a chance for you to all get to know each other as humans. Nobody is an artist here. Nobody is an executive here. Nobody is a manager or anything. We don't have titles in these rooms. These rooms are literally for you to essentially get to know other people. Maytav, I know you have to get going. So I just want to say thank you so much for
I'm sorry I have to go. I'm with my family today, but thank you guys so much for having me. And it was really lovely to meet everyone.
Yeah. Everybody, please give a round of applause to Maytav for joining us. Woo!
Thank you
so much. And hopefully we get to connect again soon. Thank you, Maytav. Have a good one. I'm going to go ahead and open up the breakout rooms, but before I do so, I have a couple of prompts for you. So write these down so that you remember them. The first thing that I want you to share is, actually, this is the first thing that I want you to do when you get into the room. The first thing is I want you to write down your top stressors. So it could be 1 to 3 stressors right now. And I want you to just cross them out on a piece of paper. That's it. And then the second thing is, what are 3 things that you're grateful for? And then what are your favorite things to do for self-care, or what would your self-care day look like? Your full day is full of self-care. What would that look like for you? And I'm going to go ahead and open the rooms. And I actually forgot that Maytav couldn't join us for the breakout room. So one of the rooms will not have will not have a panelist, but I'll be in charge of that room. So I'll see you all in just a moment. Let me just find which room she was in. All right. When you see the chance to open up a room, go ahead and join it.